Good morning. We are using algebra this morning to find missing dimensions, and we've been talking about volume and surface area. And so those are the kinds of problems that we're going to be trying to find a missing dimension in. So when we've been doing these problems, they've given us the length and width, and because this is a three-dimensional object, we're also going to be talking about its height. They've been giving us those three. Now they're going to give us the surface area or give us the volume, and we're going to have to work backwards to find one of those missing dimensions. So, for instance, we have the interior of a picnic cooler is in the shape of a rectangular prism. So think of a big cooler. And it has a width of 6 inches, a length of 8 inches, and a volume of 336 cubic inches. And it says, what is the height? Well, for a rectangular prism, to find the volume, we would do length times width times height. And that would give us the volume. So they're telling us that the volume is 336. They're telling us that the length is 8, that the width is 6, but we don't know what the height is. When we go to solve that, we're going to get 336 is equal to, I'm going to do 8 times 6, which is 48, times the height. So this is a one-step equation for us to solve. So we would divide both sides by 48, and we would find out that the height was equal to 7. Just to show what that would look like, 336 divided by 48, and we would get 7 for the height. Now once we know the height, it says what was the surface area of the picnic cooler. And we're going to be looking for the inside of the picnic cooler. So we're going to do, if you think about the picnic cooler, the inside of it's going to be in that shape. And so we know that the length is 8, so the width is 6, and the height is 7 now. So we are going to be doing a top and bottom, the two ends, and the front and the back there. Now the front and the back are going to be the same. So this is going to be 8 by 7. Remember the height was 7. So 8 times 7, and I can multiply that times 2. That's going to give me the front and the back. So that would be 56 times 2. Which is 112. So that is our front and our back. And this is in inches. So this was 7 inches here. So this is inches squared because we're talking about area. Our two ends are going to be 7 by 6. And there are 2 of them. So 42 times 2, or 84 inches squared. And then our top and our bottom we have 2 of those, and our top is going to be 6 by 8. So 48 times 2, which is 96. Remember the last step there that we have to do then is we have to add those all together. Didn't give us a whole lot of room here, did they? You might want to grab your notebook or something to give you some more room there. For a total of 292. Inches squared, and that is our surface area. So our height was 7. We use that to find our surface area. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to pause the video. I want you to try the one that says on your own, which is very similar, and then turn it back on and see if you got the right answer. All right, so the one on your own, we had the length times the width times the height, and they gave us the length, and they gave us the height. That meant we were looking for the width there. They also gave us the volume. So you said the volume is equal to 14 times 12, and we should actually be looking for the width here. And so that means that the width of my box is 18.5. You can draw that there, and then we've got the front, the back, the top, the bottom, and the side to find the surface area of the box. Remember, we've got the side twice, and this time they did them out separately. We add those all together, and we get 1,298 centimeters squared. So on our first one, we did these together, and we said we just multiplied this times 2. This has just been done separately, so you can see those separated out as well. All right, our next two questions are going to be where we try it again and then you try it. So it says the first tank shown is half filled with water. This is important. It's half filled. The water from this tank is poured into the second tank, which is empty. What height will the water reach in the second tank? So the first thing I've got to do is figure out the volume of my tank on my first side. So volume equals length times width times height. So 6 times 9 times 8. Which is 432 inches squared. Now, we said it's half filled, so I'm going to divide that by 2 and get an answer of 216. I'm sorry, that was inches cubed, wasn't it? Inches cubed. This is actually the amount of water. So this is the volume of the whole tank, and this is the actual amount of water because it was half filled. All right, so in that second tank, we're going to have the same volume of water. So when I think volume equals length times width times height, I'm going to have the same volume of water. Now, the length of my tank in this one, instead of being 9, is 8. And the width of my tank is 5, and we want to know, well, how high would that water be? So we're actually looking for the height of the water here, not the height of the tank. We know the height of the tank. We want to know how high the water's going to go. So that means 40 times something gives me 216. So I'm going to divide by 40, and my height should be 5.4 inches. So that is how high the water will be. It will go 5.4 inches up the tank. I want you to go ahead and pause and try the one right next door and see if you get the same answer. All right, so go ahead and pause the video again if you want. We did the same thing from the volume of the first tank divided by 2 and got 240 cubic inches of water. And so when we put that in for our volume of the second tank and we take out the height, we want to know how high the water goes, so we're thinking that the water is going to go about 8 inches up. So that means the height of the water is 8 inches, so from there to there. All right, our next problem. It says the cube shown below has a surface area of 150 square inches. What is the area of each side of the cube? Well, if you look at a cube, you think, how many faces does it have? How many sides? Well, the cube has 6 faces or sides. So if the total surface area, if I added all those cube areas up, all those perfect squares, all those faces up, I would get 150. So that means 6 times something equals 150. So if I divide by 6, that means the area of one side is 25 inches squared. So go ahead and pause the video and try the next one. All right, so you can check out here. We did the same thing. We got that each face has an area of 144 square centimeters. Moving on to the back. A company needs to create a box shaped like a rectangular prism. The volume must be 216 cubic inches, but the surface area needs to be as small as possible. One possible box is shown. It says, in your answer document, you're going to sketch or describe a different box that has the same volume as box A and a surface area less than that of box A. Show work or provide an explanation to verify that the new box meets this criteria. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to find the surface area of this particular box. So we've got the top and the bottom. And so remember, I think of that, I'm like, that's going to be 3 times 8. But there are 2 of them. So the top and the bottom together give me 48 inches squared. Then my front and my back are going to be the same. So 9 times 8. And there are 2 of those. So 72 times 2 is 144 inches squared. And then the sides of the boxes are going to be 3 times 9. And I have 2 of those once again, so 27, so 54 inches squared. So my total surface area when I add up my surface areas for all 6 of those sides, my total surface area is going to be 246 inches squared. That is the surface area of the current box. I need to find another box that has a volume of 216, and I need a surface area. I need my surface area to be less than 246 inches squared. So start playing with numbers. One possibility is that what if the box was a cube? I would still have the same amount. So if I divide this by 6, or if I think of 216, if I remember that is 6 cubed, that means that I would have a perfect cube here. That was 6 by 6 by 6. That still gives me 216. When I look at my surface area, I would have 6 times 6, and then I actually have 6 of those because it's a cube. So this would be 36 times 6, which is 216 inches squared. This would be inches cubed because this is my volume. So my surface area of this would be 216 inches squared. So this would fit the criteria that it gave us. Go ahead and pause and see if you can do the same thing on your own over here for this box. All right, so following along with that same concept over here, the one on your own, go ahead and pause this and take a look and see if your work matches up. The next one that we're going to do then is number 5. And it says a cereal maker is currently packaging boxes of cereal in boxes shaped like triangular prisms. The dimensions are shown below. The cereal maker is considering changing rectangular boxes. Now when I have a shape that's not a rectangular square in the bottom, I just have to find the area of the shape of the bottom or the base. So the first thing I want to do, because it's talking about down here, the 2 boxes need to have the same height, and they also need to have the same volume. So to find the volume of a triangular prism, I'm going to do 1/2 times base times height, and then I'm going to multiply all that times the height of the whole figure. Whereas for the volume of a rectangular prism, it's length times width times height. And so for this one, I've got 1/2 times 6 times 4 in here, and then the whole shape is that tall. So I'm going to have 12 times 10, oops, down the bottom there, sorry, which is 120 inches cubed. So that means my volume has to be 120 inches cubed. My height still has to be 10. So I am looking for my length and my width here. What could they possibly be? Well, my base here, you might have noticed, my base had an area of 12, so my base is going to also have to have an area of 12. So my length times my width is going to have to equal 12. That gives me a couple different possibilities. I could have a 2 by 6, a 4 by 3, maybe not a 12 by 1, but that is a possibility that I could make for my box. So if I do a 3 times 3 by 4, then I'll get that 12 times 10, and I'll still get 100.